Paneer, do you want to speak, or do you want to put in your thoughts?
If I am not audible, please flag it. My concern is two areas. One is we are not investing enough on domain expertise. Earlier, media used to have macroeconomic editors. Media used to have rural affairs editor. Now we are not actually getting those people. Therefore, the lack of investment in domain expertise, in-house domain expertise, is a bit worrying. And here what we are witnessing is that we are outsourcing it. But the outsourcing has a problem because those people are also job applicants. If I'm a former ambassador, I want to become a new ambassador. If I am a former bank chairman, I would like to get a one more term. With this idea of having an independent domain experts and an investment on these domain expertise, we see a big decline. One. Second, what is happening to our idea of self-regulation? Is the idea of self-regulation is going to be given up? If we are going to talk about protecting ourselves from the excess of the state, don't you think media should come up with a credible regulatory framework which gives us that protective cover? These are the two questions. Really sorry, my throat is very bad. But these are my two major questions which are troubling me.
Does anyone want to take forward Paneer's points?
Actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to just say a couple of things because I think I have to go. Actually, I have a different engagement. I apologize. But if I put together both Siddharth Vadarajan's points and Mr. Ram's points, some of it is very intriguing to me. Is it that if you have a relatively if you have the people's mandate in a way that the authoritarian forces cannot stop, because if you look at much of North India, if you look at Delhi, if you look at the Hindi belt, if you look at many of these places, it is the electoral victories that, the money and all of that stuff comes, but it starts with the electoral victory and it starts with this perception of invincibility. That starts with the perception of dominance in the public sphere that really may be at the core of whatever they can then leverage for intimidation and kind of, browbeating and all these other things. And, including maybe leveraging the judiciary and so forth. So is it that in a place like Tamil Nadu, because the people are never going to be kind of cowed and brought down to that authoritarian kind of template, is that the basis that we still have a relatively independent press? Question one. Question two, is it that we are a relatively well-to-do state, a relatively affluent state, and there is enough business in media? There's enough revenue in media, both at the state level and at the natural economy, at the commercial level, that independent media organizations don't have to worry too much about both the carrot and the stick. And to be fair, after Ms. Jayalalitha's time, for all the other faults that I will lay at the ADMK government, they rarely engaged in the kind of what can I say, legal or extrajudicial or extra constitutional kind of threatening that she used to do to the press. My friends across the aisle had many faults, but they were not authoritarian or not that aggressive in their attempts to control the media, at least in my understanding. So, with rare exceptions, maybe it is in Tamil Nadu that we are a relatively self-contained economy. We are not dependent on the center either for funds or for kind of that our mold of the average voter and the public mind is more independent. Maybe that's a result of education, maybe that's a result of social liberation, whatever it is. But maybe those are some of the things that give you a key to having relatively independent institutions. And it is a function of time. As you have economic development, like some theories go about how the US went through the same kind of, what do you say, growth of democracy as the per capita income increased, and the growth of institutions as economic activity became more widespread. Maybe that's the hope for the future for a place like India. I'll just say the reverse, which is that, there was a very interesting essay by somebody about Putin, and I think it was titled the Dictator Trap. That eventually, if you browbeat all independent opinions and all kind of real data from reaching you, you can sustain this control of the media, control of the narrative for so long, but it's not infinite. At some point, the reality bursts through. I would have thought that point was the number of dead bodies floating in the Ganges and on the riverbanks, but clearly that wasn't the point. But at some other point, maybe there will be a reconciliation, and that the emperor's new clothes will be kind of exposed after all. So it's fascinating how all these components tie together, because at the core of it has to be a viable financial model. Even for some great institution like the Wire, if they're not able to at least sustain, maybe they don't live well, but the model provides sustenance. And of course, at a scale of 1.4 billion people, it may not be that hard to find sustenance for a relatively lean operation. But if you want many like that, maybe you have to have an ecosystem like Tamil Nadu, where there's enough economic activity, there's enough, the progression of democracy and the economy has reached a place where people are willing to or inclined to ask for more rights, more institutions, more reality. And that's the basis. It's hard for me to say, but it's been very thought-provoking. I've learned a lot. Thank you very much. I apologize. I had another commitment I have to run because we just finished the budget session today. But thank you again very much. We always enlightened, as we said when we started this, ideas are the lifeblood of any movement. We feel very happy with where our movement has gotten us, but we have a long way to go. And we are immensely benefited by insights from luminaries like yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining and for your time.